Hello there. I commonly get questions as to how I make screw holes in my blasters. Um, so I'm just going to make a quick video so I can link to it whenever it's asked. Yeah, big brain. So, first of all, sorry for background noise. It is very hot in my room and I need a fan going or else I'm going to die from heat exhaustion. Number two, I do this without a timeline. So, if you have timelines enabled, you might need to change some of these steps so Fusion or whatever program you're using doesn't bug out on you. But let's start. So let's say that this is part 1, and this is part 2, I guess. So part 1 minus 10. There's part 1. There is part 2. Alright. And let's make them differently colored so you can better see it. There we go. Alright. So let's say I want to attach these two parts together. Part 1, the white one, is, let's say that this is like a magwell or something. And the orange one is a panel that you're trying to put on the side of the magwell. So for example, it is something like this right here, where the white part here would be the white part in this example, and the green part here would be that orange part. And as you can see, these are my screw holes. So I'll show you how I do these at an accelerated pace. So let's say I want to put the screw hole, I don't know, here, 2.414. That is the correct hole sizing in diameter, 2.414 millimeter diameter for the 440 screws that I use in all of my blasters. So let's make that hole, right? All right. Then I will do a 2 millimeter chamfer like that. Then I will hide the orange one. Go in here, click on the inside edge of this, then do a 0.5 millimeter chamfer. That will do the chamfer on both sides of this, which isn't always necessary, but it is nice from time to time. So for example, if it's a through hole, and you're threading something in from both sides, you want the chamfer to be on both sides. If this face here is on the build plate, you want this 0.5 millimeter chamfer so that elephant's footing, the bottommost layers being wider than the topmost layers, you want it to not interfere with the hole. So that's why I do that on that side as well. But on the screw side, the side with the orange part, this side, that is so that when you self-tap a 440 screw into it, it goes in easier. Because if it's squared off like this, the screw doesn't really have a good place to start. But if you have a very slight chamfer, then it will go in nice and easy. So, this would be my most basic screw hole that I would do. Actually, I would also do the 0.5 millimeter chamfer on that side as well for the elephant's footing. So this would be my most basic type of screw hole. All right. Excuse me. Let's dissolve all that. So let's say I want to make another screw hole. Yeah. All right. I would go in here. Let's say I want to do a nice screw hole right here. 2.414. Bam. Finish. Extrude. Extrude straight through. Hide that sketch. 2 millimeter chamfer. 0.5. I can look through here and see that edge, and then do 0.5 there. Bam. There's another basic screw hole chamfer. Let's say that this orange piece is not something that is under a lot of stress. Let's say that it is, once again, this side panel right here. There's nothing pushing on it from either side. It's just an aesthetic type of thing, or a structural thing that doesn't have force on it from the top or bottom of the screw, right? So in cases like this, you will see that this outermost hole is wider than the innermost hole. Why is that? Well, think of it like this. If you are trying to thread in a screw, right? And you want to put it through both parts, yeah? You don't really need to have it threading in to the topmost part because the pan head of the screw will like squeeze it down onto the next part under. So I make the topmost hole 1.6 1.6 mil. Oh, wait, no I don't. First I dissolve these so they don't get changed automatically when I change the hole size. Then I change this from 1.207 millimeters, which is half of the 2.414 that the hole is in diameter. I changed this to 1.6. So the screw hole, did I change that to 1.6 or 1.5? 1.6. So now the screw hole is 3.2 millimeters in diameter. And that lets the threads of the 440 screw not touch this outermost panel and only touch the innermost panel. And then it's held in place by the pan head. And that makes it so that it is much easier to put in screws. So for once again, if we go back to the other example, there are a bunch of screws that you have here. You don't want to have to thread it through 2 layers if you can just have it thread through 1 layer if you have a bunch of screws. So I just have it thread through the white layer here, which is the only one keeping it in place, and then the green layer it doesn't need to thread into. It's basically a through hole. Now, let's say that, oh no, orange one is too thick. This part right here is too thick for the screws to touch the bottom of the white part. So what do I do there? Well, first, if we go back a step, at first I would not have, it's not letting me delete that face. There we go. So at first I would not have that slightly chamfer on the other side. Now, what I do is I check the distance from the bottom of the 2 millimeter chamfer to the bottom of the part. So as you can see here is 8 millimeters distance. Now I tried to make that a 3 millimeter-ish distance. So how would I do that for this? Well, I would make a sketch here, and that makes this a selection, I guess. Then I would extrude this down. So what did I say that was? I said that was 8. So I would extrude this down, what, 5? Am I good at math? No, I'm not. Extrude this down more. Oh, right, because it's also going through the 2 millimeter chamfer at the top. So this, right here, is 3 millimeters. Then I would give this like a 0.01, just to give it a tiny bit of chamfer, and then I delete this face, and then it automatically stretches that out to that size. Alternatively, you can go most of the way with this. Something like that, and then delete that face, or you can just put in 2, and that will like fill it out completely because that's the same size that you used to cut the thing. But you don't always have, or let's finish this up. So there's your through hole. I would then put a 0.5 millimeter chamfer there just to make it look nice. Put the 0.5 on this side, make it look nice. If I wanted to make this one of the ones that the thread doesn't go into, I would then change this to 1.6. Delete this bit of chamfer because it doesn't do any good. And with the wider hole, you don't need the backmost chamfer because the elephant's footing doesn't even matter. It's not even touching the threads, even if there is elephant's foot there. So you don't even need to deal with it. But yeah, so that's a nice hole right there. And then of course the hole on the other side is still the 2.414 diameter hole. Got it so far? I know, it's a lot to take in for a simple screw hole. Man, I've been going for 9 minutes. Wow. Alright. So, there's your hole. Nice hole. Yep. Now, you don't necessarily need to have this be this diameter, because the diameter that I make this through hole when it needs to go deeper into the part, that 3.207 millimeters is just determined by the distance of the 2 millimeter chamfer on the 2.414 millimeter hole. Sometimes what I do is, if there is a spot where there's not a lot of space in a design, let's see if there's any here. Not a lot of space. Are these? Yeah, these ones are good. So there's not a lot of space in between these. So in this one, this diameter here is just 6 millimeters, as opposed to the 6.414 on this hole. So you can go any hole size that you need for the leading up to the chamfer of the pan, or of the head of the screw, as long as it is larger than like 5.3 millimeter diameter. Then it starts to get sketchy as you go down. So let's say I wanted a, I don't know, 5.3 millimeter hole right there. So I would make that hole there. Then inside of that, I would put 2.414 for our threading. Through hole. Make this go down. What was it? Minus 5? I forget what the distance was for this. Nope. There we go. So there's your 3 millimeter thick edge there. And then in this one, I would just do the 0.1 on that edge and then delete that, because I don't know off the top of my head what 5.3 divided by 2 is. And you can type that into the chamfer thing. So like if I wanted to do this, nope, 5.3 divided by 2. That should work, but it's not. Actually, no, whatever. You can do math inside of that tool, and it's pretty helpful sometimes. But on this case, so for a oddly shaped or oddly sized hole, I just do a 0.01 and then delete this face, and that automatically turns that into a chamfer for me. And of course, I do the 0.5 on that, dissolve it all, 1.6. There you go. There is a, oh man, 0.5 there. There is a beautiful through hole right into your other part. Keep it nice and secure. It's a beauty. Now I guess I'll finish this off with, what if I need a screw that goes in at an angle? So if we go back to the example blaster, where do I have it? Yeah, here's some good angled holes. So let's say I needed an angle right there. What I did in this situation is I didn't make a, what I could have done was I could have taken a sketch plane, or a construction plane, sorry, and angled it to whatever angle I needed, and then done all of those steps. But instead what I did in this case was I took a hole that I made for a previous part of the blaster, I made an extrusion through it, new body, took the new body, cut with these two parts, keep the tools, and that gives you a nice tool for cutting your screw holes. So what I would do here is I would clean that, delete that. Oh, no, I wouldn't. I would delete that, then delete that. And there you go. So this bit is 2.414 millimeters. This is whatever this distance was. I forget what it was. It's whatever that is. And then this is a nice little tool. So you can extend the ends of this as far as you need to go through your part satisfactory, or to satisfaction. I'm a very good word user. So let's say we want that. Let's say we wanted at that angle. So we'd put it there, probably more precisely than I'm doing right now. Kind of eyeball it, honestly, to like, does that look like 3 millimeters from there to there? It's close enough. And then we do some of that, hide this tool or delete it or whatever. 0.5, chamfer to make it look nice. 0.5 chamfer there to make it thread nice. and 1.6 to make it go in better. And there you go. And then check that distance. That says minimum distance is 1.204, but the maximum distance is probably 3-ish, so it's probably fine. And then there you go. There's a nice angled hole for putting in screws at an angle. Yeah. I think that's pretty much all that I need to say about something extremely simple that I managed to make last into a frickin' 15.5-minute long video. We'll see if I decide to edit this. Yeah. Enjoy making holes.